As president, my highest and most solemn duty is the defense of our nation and its citizens. Last night, at my direction, the United States military successfully executed a flawless precision strike that killed the #1 terrorist anywhere in the world, Qassem Soleimani. Soleimani was plotting imminent and sinister attacks on American diplomats and military personnel, but we caught him in the act and terminated him. Under my leadership, America's policy is unambiguous to terrorists who harm or intend to harm any American. We will find you. We will eliminate you. We will always protect our diplomats, service members, all Americans, and our allies. For years, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps and its ruthless Quds Force under Soleimani's leadership has targeted, injured, and murdered hundreds of American civilians and servicemen. The recent attacks on U.S. targets in Iraq, including rocket strikes that killed an American and injured 4 American servicemen very badly, as well as a violent assault on our embassy in Baghdad, were carried out at the direction of Soleimani. Soleimani made the death of innocent people his sick passion, contributing to terrorist plots as far away as New Delhi and London. Today, we remember and honor the victims of Soleimani's many atrocities, and we take comfort in knowing that his reign of terror is over. Soleimani has been perpetrating acts of terror to destabilize the Middle East for the last 20 years. What the United States did yesterday should have been done long ago. A lot of lives would have been saved. Just recently, Soleimani led the brutal repression of protesters in Iran, where more than 1,000 innocent civilians were tortured and killed by their own government. We took action last night to stop a war. We did not take action to start a war. I have deep respect for the Iranian people. They are a remarkable people with an incredible heritage and unlimited potential. We do not seek regime change. However, the Iranian regime's aggression in the region, including the use of proxy fighters to destabilize its neighbors, must end, and it must end now. The future belongs to the people of Iran, those who seek peaceful coexistence and cooperation, not the terrorist warlords who plunder their nation to finance bloodshed abroad. The United States has the best military by far anywhere in the world. We have the best intelligence in the world. If Americans anywhere are threatened, we have all of those targets already fully identified, and I am ready and prepared to take whatever action is necessary. And that in particular refers to Iran. Under America,
What does Qassem Soleimani's death actually mean for stability and in the region? And also, does his death now mean that there is an increased risk to American lives, both U.S. troops and diplomats who are serving in the region?
Well, great to be with you. Qassem Soleimani, the major general who commanded Iran's Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps Quds Force, that's the country's elite extraterritorial foreign operations unit, was responsible for most of the instability we saw in the past decade and a half in the Middle East, whether it was Iraq, Afghanistan, Syria. If there was a place where an American adversary was baiting and bleeding America, it was Qassem Soleimani who was driving that instability. But that instability is not at all over. Now the Iranians may want to respond. The question is how when and where will they respond? And will they be able to be as effective without their most important general at the helm?
What options are now available realistically to Iran? I mean, at this point, it would seem very unlikely that they'd return to the negotiating table.
I think the Iranians don't respond to little intermediate shows of strength. They respond to clear, demonstrated, sticky messages of strength. That it's not a political message, this is a genuine change in policy. You saw that with the end of the Iran-Iraq war, when they read accidents as shows of strength. That could be what is needed here to get the Iranians to change their behavior. The Iranians are in a box, actually, especially with the recent tweet thread by President Trump. The Iranians have to respond such that they look like they're not absorbing American retaliation, but not so much so that they invite further military reprisal and even ruin for the regime. So the Iranians are really in a tough spot. You even saw a member of the parliament saying recently, we want revenge, not a war. So the Iranians are afraid of a full-scale war.
So what could that retaliation realistically look like? You were telling me off camera, perhaps some of what we saw in 2019.
Exactly. Past is going to be prologue here.
Continues to develop quickly. We have new information coming out of Iran. The Iranian regime says it is ending all commitments under the 2015 nuclear deal. In a statement, the Iranian government says it will no longer limit its enrichment of uranium, abandoning the accord's key provisions that block Tehran from having enough material to build an atomic weapon. The statement says, in part, the Islamic Republic of Iran will end its final limitations in the nuclear deal, meaning the limitation in the number of centrifuges. Therefore, Iran's nuclear program will have no limitations in production, including enrichment capacity and percentage and number of enriched uranium and research and expansion. However, Iran says the government would continue its cooperation with the International Atomic Agency and return to the nuclear deal if sanctions against it were removed and Iran's interests were guaranteed. Now, all of this comes amid heightened tensions over the killing of Iranian General Qassem Soleimani by the U.S. in Baghdad. These are images of Soleimani's funeral procession in northeast Iran today. The general's body was brought back from Iraq, where he was killed in that U.S. airstrike. Hundreds of thousands of mourners flooded the streets to receive his remains. Iraq's parliament has voted to expel foreign troops, including all Americans and Canadians from the country. Although it is not clear if parliament has the power to do that, anger over the U.S. assassination of Iran's top general at Baghdad's airport led to this vote. The people of Iraq are watching this dangerous drama develop all around them. Mustafa Salim is a reporter with the Washington Post's Baghdad bureau. He says most Iraqis have a common feeling about the way things are unfolding.
They are
That's Iranian MPs chanting death to America in the capital of Tehran. The regime is threatening harsh retaliation after the U.S. killed its most powerful general. His death marks a significant escalation between Iran and America. And Donald Trump ramped up the rhetoric on Twitter, writing in caps that Iran would be, quote, hit very fast and very hard if they retaliate. And right now, about 3,000 American troops are on their way to the Middle East as reinforcements. One thing is for sure, any war with Iran will not look like the Iraq War. In 2003, the U.S. invasion began with a, quote, shock and awe campaign designed to destroy Iraq's defenses with big bombs and overwhelming firepower. But now the world is preparing for a very different type of war.
This is not Iraq. This is not Panama. This is something much, much more dangerous.
More dangerous. What does that mean? Well, it isn't just New York's mayor who is concerned about this. Other U.S. cities, including Los Angeles, also issued alerts telling residents to be vigilant. One of the ways Iran could retaliate is a full-scale cyber war. Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Admiral James Stavridis, who's actually been on this program, says it's what he worries about the most. And it's been building since 2007, when it's widely accepted that the U.S. launched a massive cyber attack on Iran's nuclear program, fearing it was trying to build nuclear weapons. This footage is from the documentary 0 Days. Security experts say that attack changed things forever.
somebody just used a new weapon. And this weapon will not be put back into the box.
Almost immediately, Iran started building its own cyber warfare tools, and it says it's now created the 4th largest cyber army in the world, just behind Russia, China, and of course the United States.
Welcome back to Face the Nation. We're joined now by Connecticut Senator Chris Murphy, who is on the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, good to have you here. Good morning.
Good morning.
You heard Secretary Pompeo and Senator Rubio say that if Qassem Soleimani had not been killed, there would have potentially been hundreds of Americans who would have been casualties. Do you believe that there was an imminent attack?
Well, first, it's incumbent upon the administration to present that evidence to Congress. But even if there was an imminent attack, and there are always threats being presented to U.S. forces in the region by Iran and Iranian proxies, the responsibility is on the administration to prove to us that by taking out the second most powerful political figure inside Iran, they are preventing more attacks rather than inspiring additional attacks. The reason that the Bush administration and the Obama administration did not greenlight the execution of Qassem Soleimani, despite the fact that he was carrying out attacks on U.S. forces, is because they believed ultimately that would get more Americans killed. And you can already see the consequences to U.S. security in the region with, as you have noted, the beginning of the process to expel American forces from Iraq.
We know that there was some notification given to Congress. You heard Senator Rubio.
Pompeo, welcome back to Fox News Sunday, sir.
Chris, it's great to be with you. Thanks for having me on this morning.
You know that the Iraqi parliament is holding an emergency session today to discuss the question as to whether U.S. troops, the 5,000 troops we have there, should remain in country. It has just come across the wires. The Iraqi prime minister says it is in the interest of both Iraq and the U.S. to end foreign troop presence in Iraq. And he also says that the killing of General Soleimani and also a top militia leader who was backed by Iran, Mohandas, were political assassinations. Your reaction, sir?
Well, Chris, the American people should know that President Trump will never shy away from protecting and defending America. It's what we've done over these past weeks and days. It's what we've done over our entire 3 years with our Middle East strategy. The activity that you're seeing today is fully consistent with that. The American people should know we will continue. The president tweeted it again last night. We will take the actions necessary to keep Americans safe. You know, as for the activity today with respect to Iraq, we've been in their country. We've been supporting Iraqi sovereignty. We've been continuing to take down the terrorist threat against the Iraqi people. The prime minister is the resigned prime minister. He's the acting prime minister. He's under enormous threats from the very Iranian leadership that it is that we are pushing back against. We are confident that the Iraqi people want the United States to continue to be there to fight the counter-terror campaign, and we'll continue to do all the things we need to do to keep America safe.
But if Iraq...
Americans, but now we've ensured that his atrocities have been stopped for good. They are stopped for good. I don't know if you know what was happening, but he was planning a very major attack, and we got him.
That was President Trump moments ago explaining why he took action to kill Iran's top general. He says he did it to prevent a war, but his critics are piling on.
We appear to be, without, by the way, I'd say without congressional authorization, entering into another Middle East war.
I would anticipate the Persian Gulf War will begin anew.
This one-off action can have unbelievably horrific consequences.
Number one, there will be dead Americans, dead civilian Americans as a result of this.
It's not just service members. All American citizens are now walking prime targets for Iranian retaliation.
And some Democrats even accusing Trump of using the airstrike to distract from impeachment. Squad member Ilhan Omar tweeting, so what if Trump wants war, knows this leads to war and needs the distraction? Oh, my God.
The distraction.
Pete, typically when there is something like this, the country comes together, you put politics aside. Of course, they can have the debate if the president should declare war. But accusing the president of using this for a block for impeachment?
Oh, but Trump, I mean, the whole idea of him being the commander-in-chief. There was a commentator today that said, right action wrong commander-in-chief. And ultimately, it doesn't matter the decision that he made. No, that was literally Jonathan Alter on another network said, correct. The implication is, I'd rather have the correct commander-in-chief, meaning Hillary Clinton, and the wrong actions. And it sums up precisely how everyone who isn't a supporter of this the haters of the president view him. It doesn't matter what he does, we're going to dislike him. The reality is, though, the commentary there is true. He made the right call. He made a call based on advisors around him who believe this is an imminent threat, and specifically because he saw a policy action taken under the Obama administration where sovereign American soil, whether it's a consulate or an embassy, was threatened and not taken seriously, dismissed by an internet video by the National Security Advisor later on. Ultimately, he said, if you're going to try that, and we know what Iran does. Iran 40 years ago used the American embassy in Tehran as the launching off point for their Islamic Republic. Embassies are meaningful to them. It's sovereign American soil. He said this will not happen again, and as a result, I see the signs in front of me, and I'm going to compensate. I'm going to send the Marines. I'm going to send the 82nd Airborne, which he did, by the way, knowing they had intelligence on Soleimani. That looked like a bit of a bigger reaction than people thought as a result, but they knew what was coming next. So this was something that was intentional because he didn't, imagine if he hadn't acted. The amount of negligence he'd be charged with for knowing about the gathering threat and not stepping up.
If there really was a different imminent threat. That's why I keep harping on actually wanting to hear more about this, because I think the American people deserve the knowledge about why this time was different with all of the potential downsides that will come from this strike. Look, I know.
Like Gaddafi in 2011? Like there's lots of downsides that came from that too.
But we're not talking about 2011, Pete. We're talking about today and President Trump.
Why can't you just step back and say, this is a bad guy who's dead, and that's a good thing?
Because I think the consequences that come from it could have far-reaching strategic negative impacts on the United States that outweigh the benefit from it. I mean, this is the most consequential decision that an American administration has taken in the Middle East since the decision to invade Iraq in 2003. And I just haven't seen the kind of strategic planning from the Trump administration that makes me think they know what comes next.
It's one thing to say, you know, you need more information, but you have Obama former administration officials like Ben Rhodes saying that they question the president's strategy and his competence to lead.
And we do too.